technically, people keep commenting on things like this, not you, honey, but things like this, and they're telling me you can water bath can, you just do it for 3 hours or whatever. This is our journey. Welcome to the Betancourts homestead. Yes, you can water bath can. The Amish do it. Yes. Does that mean I'm going to do it or recommend it? No. If you do it, am I going to say anything if I was in your kitchen? No. But you can do it. To do vegetables or meats, you have to water bath them for 3 hours. You cannot allow the water in your water bath canner to go below they have to cover 1 inch to 2 inches, preferably 2 inches, the jar. So your jar, if you have a quart, you have 2 inches of water on top of that, which means for 3 hours of boiling, you're going to have a pot sitting next to it that is also boiling. So that when the water bath canner water level reduces, you add more boiling water to that so that you never lose boiling water in your water bath canner. Because if you do, you have to start your time over again. Is that something this ADHD brain is going to sit in front of a stove for 3 hours with another pot boiling? So now I have 2 burners boiling for 3 hours while I ladle hot water from the water pot that is boiling into the water bath canner. No, ain't nobody got time for that. Like a pressure canner Presto is like what, $219, $199 if you look for a sale. A All-American canner is $319. I think even if you don't look for a sale. Is that well worth it? I mean, I could sit here and do the actual configurations. I'm not saying anything to you. I've had multiple conversations going on in multiple threads. So I'm addressing those threads, but I'm answering your question at the same time. I would rather spend the one-time fee and have one pot on the stove using the same exact burner for 90 minutes rather than 3 hours and save my money with my electricity. Now, I only pay 8 cents a kilowatt hour. Some people, like in California, pay 45 cents a kilowatt hour. So even me, if I was down in California, it literally would pay for itself in 1 year. But no, I'm not going to sit in the kitchen at the stove listening for the water boiling for 3 hours while I gently ladle boiling water into the pot. I'm just not going to do it. Now, you can do it. It's not recommended. It is not something that I personally recommend because it is not something that I do. But you can do it. I guess that's where that saying comes, your kitchen, your rules. Am I going to tell you you're wrong if you do it? No. Am I going to do it? No. So yes, you can do it. Does it make sense when you look at the cost of a forever canner to the cost of electricity? Not in my brain, but my brain is totally different. It's just totally different. But thanks for asking the question. It is actually a really good question, and it is actually something that a lot of people want to know. A lot of people. So, no, I just don't think the amount of time I could do 2 loads. Like if I'm doing black beans, I literally could do 2 batches of black beans in the amount of time that I would be able to do 1 if I was boiling on the stove in a water bath canner. So for me, yeah, pressure canner, way more beneficial and time saving and cheaper in the long run for me. But that's my 2 cents, which doesn't really amount to anything anymore. Does that answer your question? I hope it does. It's a great question, and it's something that everybody asks. I am going to apologize right now for talking. I get very passionate when I talk about ways to save money and cost comparison and the things that I look at because my brain works differently than most people's, and I understand that. So I apologize in advance if I come across as rude. That is not my intent at all. There is more than one way to get a pressure canner. Literally, if you just want to use a couple sessions and you just want to can a few things, you can go up to your extension office in most counties have extra pressure canners that you can check out, take home, use, and bring back the next day. They're 24-hour checkout periods. Your extension office is a part of the university. There's usually one in every county. If there isn't one in every county, there is a co-op of counties that gather together and they have one office. It's also where you can learn from the best in your area how to garden, how to preserve food, everything. They want you to succeed. And the pressure canner, for me, it's free for me to go check it out. Last time I was up there and I checked, they had a few of them, and you could just go in there and check one out and take it home. Say you don't want to do that. You don't have one. You don't know where one is. You can actually call your grandmothers, your aunts, and everybody, and your mother, and you can spread it around your church, your work, and everything, and tell them that you want to start pressure canning. Does anybody want to lend you one? I had one for a very long time until one of my daughters said that they wanted to get into canning, and I gave it to her. It's a pressure canner that I just gave her. I have people that give me their canners all the time because they know that I look for people that want to learn, and I just give it to them to learn. So start spreading the word. Put it up on Facebook. I want to learn how to can. You will be amazed at how many people literally will start bringing you stuff on canning and food preserving. This little bad boy right here, I spent $100 for him, and he came with a bunch of food mill and all kinds of strainers and jelly makers and all kinds of stuff. And why? Because she was going into a retirement home. She was so old she could no longer can, but she wanted to make sure it was going to somebody that would feed their family like she did for decades. It's a very sentimental thing, canning. Food preserving is extremely sentimental when you talk to the older people that have done it. And you know what? It's extremely sentimental to me too. I'm canning in jars that are from the 1930s and 1920s. Like, I still literally use them. Say you can salsa. Take that can of salsa and divide it and see how much money you saved. Can by using the food that's on sale and the food that's in season so you get the best quality and the best price. Do that and then take that money that you save. Like, I can make a pot of jam and can it all up, and I will save $30 to $60 on that batch alone. So that $30 to $60 I put aside for a new piece of equipment. Not anymore. It's going to the mortgage of my house. Now, I'm going to stop and say this right here because I ran into a comment and somebody told me that they use their jars 10 times and then they have to replace them. No, you don't. Your jars are reusable until they break. They're reusable. So keep using them until they break and they can no longer be used. That comment kind of floored. I guess I shouldn't have said anything, and I should have just offered to buy her old jars and discard them for her. Start spreading the word with your family and start putting it on Facebook or whatever social media post you use that you are wanting to get into canning, you want to do pressure canning, and that you want jars. You will literally, if you do it every 3 to 6 months, you will start getting them because it will be in the brain that when somebody doesn't want their jars, well, who do I give it to? And they'll start putting them aside for you, and you'll be getting them for free. Literally, 80% of all my jars came this way. Now, I know some people say, well, I'll just water bath. I like it. You know what? It's not a preferred method. It really, in my eyes, I'm just going to say it, in my eyes, yes, you can do it. I don't do it because I just want the added protection of knowing that it's been pressure canned. So let's get into the nitty gritty of the figures because I literally sat down and figured it all out. If I was to live anywhere else but here, because here it's only 8 cents per kilowatt and we are very lucky, it's very odd to be this cheap. 42 cents is pretty much where the majority of the citizens are, especially in California, people that really want to learn that. So 42 cents a kilowatt hour, adjust for your times with these figures. It would cost for a 90-minute session on one burner of my stove would be 94 cents. If I took that times by 3, which is what 3 hours of boiling water, not including the amount of time it takes it to get up to temperature, is $1.89. Times that by 2, because I'm going to need to have 2 pots on 2 burners boiling for 3+ hours is going to be $3.78 per batch. Now, if I minus the 94 cents that it costs for me to do my one pressure canner on the burner, that's $2.84 that I am having to pay to have those 2 burners there for the 3+ hours. $2.84. Now, I take that and I just looked up on Amazon, and it's literally, if I wanted to buy an all new, all American, it's $365. It's not on sale. I personally would wait for a sale if I could not get it used or I could not get it given to me by a family member or whatever. You can also look at the Presto 23 quart. The Presto 23 quart is $125, happens to be on sale. It's $155 if it's not on sale. But let's take the sales price because it's on sale right now. If I take that $2.84 and I divide it into the $125, I break even on my 45th session for that Presto 23 quart canner. Now, if I take that $2.84 and I divide it into 365, which I think the All-American is amazing pressure canner, I love it, but not everybody can afford it. I know that. We saved our pretty penny and I paid $100 for it because I bought mine used. It would be 129 sessions and I would break even. Like I would be making money at that point in time, because every time I do a batch, I'm saving $2.84 because I saved up the money for that. So how do you save the money to get what you want? You take everything that you do has a price to it. So when I do a batch of jam, and I'm going to start doing this for you guys all now too, because I stopped. I thought we'd figured it out, and I'm just going to do it so you guys know where all of my money is coming from, how I'm saving every penny. I take my jam, I take it down here, I look up and see what the current cost at the grocery store is, because it's all online now. I take that cost for that one jar and I divide it by the ounce. Then I times it by how many ounces I have. And then I put them in the cupboard and I write myself a little post-it note that I saved $32 on those 8 jars of jam for what it cost me to make. I have made some jams and some lemon curds and stuff that have saved me so much money. I've been $122 in the savings. Like I would never be able to buy and eat this way in real life. So you're looking at it as $200 or $300, I don't have the money, but yet you're wasting $2.84 every single time you do a water bath canning session for 3 hours with two burners on. How is that saving you money? You know, using the same philosophy, I could go into the store and I could say, oh, those packets of seeds are $3.25 for lettuce seeds. Well, I could just go buy a head of lettuce for $1. I don't think it's $1 anymore, but you're getting my drift, because a package of seeds has hundreds of lettuce seeds in it. So I could either choose to have 1 head of lettuce for 99 cents, or I could do 100 head of lettuce for $3.29. Don't think for a moment that I don't know what being poor is like. When I was a young mother, I was 23, 24 years old. I would take my daughter, I don't even know if she knows this. I would take her to daycare 10 minutes early and I would pick her up from daycare 10 minutes later. Because if I took her 10 minutes early, they would feed her breakfast. And if I picked her up 10 minutes later, they would feed her dinner. Because I had no food in the house. I had a box of Cheerios. And in order to feed her through the weekend, I literally would accept dates with the attorneys in my office, and I would eat half of my lunch and I would take the other half home, because that's what I was going to feed my daughter. She had no choice but to eat it or she was going to go hungry. I didn't have any money. I was so poor, but yet I made $10 too much for food stamps. I got denied food stamps because I made $10 too much. I had 2 roommates in my house with me. I slept in the same room that my daughter slept in. I did everything I could to keep a roof over her head and clothes on her body. And those clothes were not brand new. They were used, and they were hand-me-downs from my friends. I say all of this not because I'm a better than thou or whatever. I say it because when times are tough, I don't sit down and say, oh, I can't get it, I can't do that. I figured out a way to make it work. I went to the library, which was free. I checked out books. I brought them home. And while she was asleep in her bed, I was reading how to save money. I was reading ways to think about things. I was figuring out how to coupon shop. They wrote books about it back in the 80s, how to coupon shop. I was going to my neighbors and asking them if I could have their coupons from the Sunday paper if they didn't use them, and they gave them to me. And on my lunch hour, instead of sitting there eating lunch and talking with everybody else, I was going to the local grocery store and I was buying everything I could with the coupons that I had, with the very few dollars that I had, and that is how I saved myself from poverty. My parents were the same. I watched my mother dumpster dive for UPC codes, because back in the day, they would give you $4, $5, $3. They would give you glasses, like drinkware, and they'd give you plates and stuff, and you would take a dollar coupon in for an item, and that item, if it cost 89 cents, they would give you the remaining of the money. So I know what it's like to be poor. I know what it's like not to have money, and I know what it's like to rise above it. So stick with me. I'll teach you. I'll show you everything, because we're going to pay off our mortgage with this. And you can do it. You literally can do it. You'll find that $200 if it doesn't land on your doorstep because somebody doesn't want it anymore. Now you know what I know.